Hello, my name is Micah Johnson, and today we'll be looking at my presentation over the Stono Rebellion that will mainly go over the causes, effects, and the failure of the rebellion. This presentation will be split up into three main topic questions: what caused the Stono Rebellion, what caused the rebellion to fail, and what were the effects/the aftermath. Information was gathered mainly through researching both primary and secondary sources. Websites like JSTOR and ArtStore were used to find articles written by well-educated and qualified historians. Examples of documents used include articles by John K. Thornton and John E. Fleming that talk about the causes and the effects of the rebellion. This presentation argues that the Stono Rebellion negatively affected slaves in the long run, even though it did provide some temporary freedom to some. This will be supported by answering all three of the main topic questions that we previously discussed. So, what caused the Stono Rebellion? The horrible conditions of slavery were one of the many reasons that most people talk about in any kind of revolution or rebellion that talks about slavery. Things like poor housing, subpar food, whippings, and the possibility for your family to be taken away are just a couple reasons why slaves might have wanted to rebel, or at least resist in some kind of way. Another reason, though, that's often overlooked is actually going into the history of the slaves, and in this case, specifically relating to their background in the Congo. What caused the rebellion to fail? Well, after initial success, the slaves participating in the rebellion were ultimately crushed. This happened due to white Southerners having more weapons, better weapons, and generally outnumbering the untrained slaves who couldn't properly fight back, especially when you have to understand that they were going through some other ailments like diseases and any kinds of injuries they suffered when escaping their plantations. What were the effects/the aftermath of the Stono Rebellion? Well, once the white militia defeated the escaped slaves, they were either captured or killed depending on who interacted with them. And after this whole ordeal, there was a lingering fear that another slave uprising could occur in the South, causing general unease with some of the lawmakers. So, to combat this fear, white lawmakers who were in charge established slave codes, first in South Carolina. These heavily reduced the already small amount of freedom that black populations had and led to a lot more strife in different slave communities. So, to wrap things up, while the Stono Rebellion was a good example of active rebellion and a semi-successful rebellion that happened in the South, it still negatively impacted black people because of the aftermath of it. There are also more causes of the revolution than most people talk about. These are just a couple sources that I used to find information on the Stono Rebellion. Southerners had towards the slaves in putting down this rebellion. If you look closely, there are also some cracks present in this chain. This symbolizes the different kinds of resistances, both passive and active, like this rebellion. And while the Stono Rebellion didn't ultimately end slavery, or end up with many slaves becoming free, it definitely started to form some cracks in the institution of slavery, now that more slaves were realizing we could kind of fight for our freedom, even if in some cases, or most cases, it would be unsuccessful.